Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We've got about 1 minute until the hour. So we're just going to give it about 30 seconds or so as people get logged on, and then we're going to get started. Very, very pleased to have you join us today. We are on installment number 4 of the Brand Point webinar series that kicked off at the beginning of quarantine in mid-March. Who would have thought April, May, June, 3 months later, and many of you are probably logging in from your homes. I am fortunate here in Pennsylvania. We are gradually moving back toward open, and our governor has allowed us to get back into our offices on a limited capacity. So I'm dialing in from the office today. I'm going to get us started here just another second as we allow more and more participants to get situated and log on. All right. So once again, good afternoon and welcome. My name is Steve Herron. I'm the president of Brand Point Services. And if you don't know us, we are a national general contractor and facility maintenance provider. We specialize in rollouts and initiatives, rebranding, refreshes, and we are fortunate to be able to partner with exceptional companies like the companies that our panelists represent. We've got a tremendous panel for you today. In episode 4 now, we are focusing on a sign of the times. And so what I'd like to do to start is to introduce our panelists. So I'm going to start by introducing Stephen Gottlich. Stephen is the Senior Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at GABLE. He brings over 40 years of signage and marketing experience and has worked at GABLE for over 12 years. 40 years of experience. I'm guessing there are people on this call that weren't alive when you started in the business. I know you were just a child when you started.
Yeah.
But that is a lot of experience and 12 years with GABLE. Now, Stephen, I understand you recently relocated back to Kansas City?
Correct, yeah.
And but originally from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Right, yeah.
But that has not stopped you from taking a liking to the local sports teams, if I have it correctly. Chiefs fan, Royals fan. By the way, for those of you that aren't familiar, there's this thing called baseball and there's this thing called football that Americans used to be like really into. And there's teams in Kansas City, and the Chiefs, I think they even won something recently. And so hopefully we'll get back to watching that soon. I saw that baseball has a deal. Let's see what else I can tell you about Stephen. He's got 3 children. He's got a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law and 3 amazing grandchildren. And he's been married to his wife for 42 years. So this woman has shared in this 40-year career in some way, shape, or form. 42 years of bliss with Hillary. And let's see, what else can I tell you about Stephen? I can tell you that I'm really happy that he's joining us today. And Stephen, when we finish the other introductions, I'll circle back to you and have you talk a little bit about your role in your company.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Next, I have Brian McClimans, Vice President of Sales, North America and APAC at Peerless AV, calling us today from Bloomingdale, Illinois. Brian's been with Peerless for 29 years. That sounds like nothing. 29 years, that's just like a blink.
Nothing.
And he's been holding various positions, Vice President management roles, been a board member of Digital Signage Federation since 2015. And let's see what other dirt I can tell you about Brian. Well, I do know that he's got a daughter heading to Indiana State this fall. Is that correct, Brian?
Hopefully, yes. As long as there's face-to-face school, she'll be there.
Okay, she's going to be a freshman studying nursing, right?
Yep.
Very cool. He's got a beagle that keeps him company most of the day, and he's working out of his home. And we've got 2 people recovering from surgery, a beagle and Stephen. So you're not alone there, Stephen. And I hope the beagle's doing okay.
He's doing great.
All right. And I also understand you recently got back from a fishing trip, a bit of a trout fisherman, are you?
I try to be. I'm more of a fisherman, trying to be a catcherman.
All right. That's why I gave up, because I couldn't catch a thing. And when we asked Brian who his favorite sports team was, he was like, professional sports? What? Is that a thing? It used to be a thing.
I've watched pickup kickball leagues down the street. That's my new passion.
I'm very, very fortunate to be able to watch girls softball because I'm coaching softball and we started back up last night. So at least I got that going.
All right.
baseball starts up. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Jeff Hastings, who's the CEO of Brightsign. Jeff's calling in from the San Francisco Bay Area. Been with Brightsign over 10 years. 10 years. Comparatively speaking, that's nothing. Jeff's also held board member roles in the software world, hardware solutions. Let's see, what kind of dirt do I have on Jeff? Jeff, I know you've also got college-age kids, correct?
Yeah, well, one college age and one graduated college. So
Okay, and so and the Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, both of them went to Arizona. One
Okay.
going, one graduated. So yeah,
Very
slowly
cool.
getting them out there on their own.
All right, very cool. So what I'd like to do, and since you've got the floor, Jeff, I'm going to stay with you and have you talk a little bit about your role, your organization, and what your company does, and then I'll go back around to Stephen and Brian.
Okay, yeah, Brightsign. We were actually started 10 years ago, but it was actually a spin out of Roku. So the CEO of Roku and I were on vacation in 2002 and kind of dreamed up the idea of Roku. He went off and started the company, started driving it. And the original idea we came up kind of grew up into two businesses, a consumer business, which everyone knows as Roku, and the commercial business. In 2009, we separated the balance sheets and created two companies, Roku as the consumer company and Brightsign as the commercial company. So that's kind of the way it was born. A lot of the core technologies we still use today from the original development. And our focus is on digital signage media players. So building devices that you can, put out into the world, have them remotely managed, and have them be incredibly reliable. And that's where we really made our mark in the market is having devices reliable. And, we've sold over 1.5 million devices. So these things are spread around the world and people use them for critical operations every day of the year, everything from digital menu boards to corporate signage to running TV walls at Costco and Sam's and Best Buy. So in retail, we do a lot of retail displays and a lot of anywhere you see a TV outside the home, that's our market.
Okay. And I was remiss that I didn't mention that you're a bit of a golfer. I hope you've been able to get out there a little bit.
Yeah, so finally we got the golf courses open, and in fact, Pebble Beach usually is really hard to get on. It's not too far it's about 1.5 hours from our house, so it's really hard to get on there. But they relaxed the rules so that now you could just go play without renting a room and everything because of course the hotels were closed. So it was great. So we got to force them out and went down there and played a few weeks ago. It was an awesome experience to one, be out, and two, be at Pebble Beach. Beautiful place.
Very cool. Very cool. And I understand you're a 49ers fan as well, Jeff.
Yeah, and Stephen, I mean, you guys got lucky in the last 6 minutes of the game, but we won't talk about that.
As an Eagles fan, I can only be jealous that we weren't in the big game, but we'll see what happens this year if we have a season. All right. Well, thanks, Jeff, and welcome. And I'll go back to you, Stephen, since we're referenced the Chiefs. Stephen, talk a little bit about what your role is at the organization and what the company does.
I will. And if anyone knows me and I'm looking weird, I apologize for what this little surgery has done to my face, but I can still talk. So what I think is really exciting is what I do is innovation and strategy. And I don't think there's a better time in the history of signage, which I've been in literally all my life from 18 years old in my father's company in Johannesburg, South Africa to today. And, signage has evolved from a static medium into something far more dynamic. And it really is a true media. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But my role at GABLE involves everything to do with innovation and bringing us from a sign company into a visual solutions company, which is a pretty exciting thing. And I'm involved in the strategy, the digital side of the business. And again, obviously, when I'm not selling, I'm doing all of those things.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Stephen. And then back to Brian. Brian, talk a little bit about your role in your organization, please.
All right. So yeah, I'm the Vice President of Sales for Peerless AV. As you said, I've been here a few decades and have been with all the different transitions from CRT TVs to plasma TVs to LCD TVs, and now we're manufacturing mounts to mount direct view LED televisions. And so we continuously as a company evolve and pivot as the industry needs. And we've actually even just started launching a whole new series of health protocol solutions just designed to try and pivot to try and assist the digital signage industry with getting customers back to business with either temperature reading kiosks, people counting kiosks, and other things like that. We're traditionally the hardware supplier for companies that do things like GABLE on their side. We partner with Brightsign on their side with the technology, and then we kind of put it together to solve a need.
Okay. All right. So welcome again, Brian, and thank you for joining us. So now what I'd like to do for those of you observing here is I'd like to get you engaged and have some questions rolling in for the panel. I'm going to kick it off with a few questions to start, but you will notice you have a Q&A section on your Zoom. So if you could go ahead and put any questions that you have for the panel into the Q&A, it'll come to me and I'll be able to go down and scan, and when a question is answered, I can check it off. And when a question hasn't been answered yet, it'll give me visibility to it. So please, we want to hear what the audience wants to hear. Don't be shy with your questions, fire away, and we'll jog your thinking a little bit because I'll ask question number one. So I'll go around to each panelist. What new initiatives has your company developed that retailers, QSR, healthcare, financial service providers would find valuable in addressing safety concerns regarding COVID-19 and communicating other key messages? And I'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, so, the COVID crisis came on pretty quickly. And, we're constantly looking at ways of kind of taking our media player and turning it into other things. So there's a few key things that we came out with. First is a product called BrightLink, which is really intended for a lot of our folks that are using our products in retail kiosks. So you can imagine over the years, retail kiosks have been, much more touch-oriented, interactive, and buttons. Well, we know that going forward, the last thing people are going to do in retail is to touch stuff. It's, that they're going to be complete fear of that and touchscreen. So we built this product that allows you to add a Wi-Fi module to our unit and use your phone to control everything on that display. So it doesn't matter if it was a physical button or a touchscreen before, you can now use your phone to control that and get the whole experience of the display while using your cell phone. So a great way to repurpose those displays with a trivial amount of money to bring them to life instead of having these millions of dollars worth of displays that no one's going to touch. So that was a great thing for a lot of the people. And we literally have hundreds of thousands of displays out there. So literally with a $50 upgrade, you take this display, which you probably spent a couple $1,000s per display, to repurpose it for the new COVID world. So that was the first one. The next one we did, which is based on kind of a similar core technology, is for the restaurant spaces. Many people are looking at, complying with laws where you can no longer have a paper menu or a reusable menu. I know in California, they've all outlawed that, but I know in a lot of other states, they don't recommend people handling the menus. So basically what you do is take our box, you plug it in to an electrical outlet. You don't need any internet or anything. And it serves as a menuing system. So the folks can come in, use their phone, click on link into this Wi-Fi hotspot, and it gets you today's menu, and you can easily change it from a restaurant's point of view. You can everything from your phone, so the restaurant can upload new images. They can select the menu that they want active. Super simple way, very low cost way, instead of having to worry about how do I get my website to change the menu and have it be the breakfast menu, the lunch menu. It's like all that is very difficult, whereas ours, literally your cell phone, you just click on it. So those were two completely new products that were born out of the COVID crisis. And then we had two other ones that we had gotten a little bit of traction on that now we're getting a lot of traction on. One is Bright Voice. So the ability, much like I talked about the phone, be able to control the display. Now you can just talk to the display. And what's different about this is it's very similar to the Amazon or the Google experience where you talk to it in a natural language to do things, except the whole recognition engine runs on our player. So it doesn't take any internet connection, doesn't rely on a fast internet connection. It's all running on our player. So now you can build voice interactive displays that also have a contained vocabulary. So you can't say crazy things to it and crazy responses. It's a very limited way, but it gives you great control and a great way to interact with displays without having to have any kind of touch interaction. So that one's got a lot of pickup. And then the last one, which is a technology company we've been working with called Blue Fox. And what they do is they essentially count devices, which, you know, in most places is a good proxy. I mean, counting cell phones. They use this technology to count people in stores and can take that data and change displays based on the number of people in a store. So, you know, in these occupancy counts and things like that, it's really hard. You know, you've got people standing outside of stores with clickers trying to keep track of the number of people, and they've got people at the ends, you know, on entrances and exits. It's, you know, it's kind of a nightmare. With this technology, you basically put one of our boxes in with the little Wi-Fi module. It keeps track of all the people in the store, and you get a real-time count of the number of the people in the store. And you can change the messaging, like, hey, no more people can come in. It's red. We got too many people. As the people exit, the screen can automatically change. So those are kind of the four big things that we've kind of, two new things and two kind of existing technologies that have now really popped to the forefront with the COVID crisis.
Very interesting. And I'll tell you what, I've experienced two of these, one on the technology side as a plus, one on the negative. Just today, I went to lunch right around the corner from our corporate office. There's a Chickies and Pete's. It's a local chain, and it's outdoor seating only. And when we sat down, the waitress said, yeah, no menus. Take your phone and hover it over this link, and then boom, there was the menu on my phone. And so, you know, I'm a pretty old school guy. I still once in a while flip through a newspaper, but I remember when they thought that digital was never going to get people to stop looking at a newspaper, right? And same thing with menus. Why do you really need to be handling a menu? So
exactly.
That's pretty cool. The second one was when I was in Florida last week, and Florida's been pretty open, obviously, and going in to get ice cream at Kilwin's, they have somebody stationed outside the door. They're paying a human being to say, you can't come in yet. There's too many in here. There's not enough. So that makes sense to have that automated, obviously.
Yeah, so those are things that just automation that, of course, you could do all this with more and more people, but it's just not scalable, right? And over time, you can't afford to have people stand at the front door, you know, guarding the door. So Signage can do that automatically. And so, yeah, so I think there's a lot of cool things that, you know, that takes our core technologies and thrusts them into the new world.
Very cool. All right, thanks. So I'm going to ask the same question to you, Stephen. Comments, thoughts on the same question?
Yeah, we've done a lot since this pandemic has hit us, but I think we look at it from a slightly different angle. We use the tools that Jeff supplies and Brian and many others, including software. I think GABLE is a true integrator that goes beyond hardware. We really provide an end-to-end solution. So with our clients, the casinos, hotels, QSR, they're coming to us and looking at the entire package. So what GABLE supplies is, you know, even the design of the content. How does that work? How does everything link together? Which software would be the best to use with these hardware solutions? So, you know, we've done everything from plastic sneeze guards for the post office and work at Starbucks and, you know, opening and closing banners. So many different pieces to this puzzle. But, you know, like in every crisis, there's opportunity, and we're seeing a lot of opportunity right now in terms of people realizing the depth of communication you suddenly are going to need in terms of telling people what to do, what not to do, entering and not entering stores, you know, the social distancing. So we call it a social care program that we have, and using the GABLE Guard products, which is a whole range of different things similar to what Brian talks about, we're able to offer our customers, you know, the solutions they need as an end-to-end provider. It's been really interesting for us.
Well, and you nailed it, right? If you go back to 9/11, you know, major crisis, the world changed, behavior changed. If you would have told me I was going to have to take off my shoes, I was going to have to take stuff out of my bag, I couldn't have liquids, there were going to be machines that I could stand like this and they could scan my whole body. You know, the world changed, and with it came opportunity. And so, yeah.
You know, that I think the problem we have right now is trying to rely on humans to be good communicators is not easy. You know, that person standing outside the ice cream shop, the same as that person standing outside Home Depot, is not always the friendliest person. You know, after 4 hours of standing there, they, you know, it's
in a mask,
yeah.
in the heat, yep.
So I think the consistency of communication through digital signage is something that's far better when it's done well. And that's what we try and achieve.
All right. Thank you, Steve. And Brian, how about your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with what Jeff and Stephen have said already. I think digital signage is absolutely going to take a stronger position going forward with communications to everyone, because as people come back and states start opening up into different phases, the communication changes, the information flow changes on a week-to-week basis. I mean, we all know what our specific area around us and how many people can be in a restaurant, or how many people can you go into a restaurant? Do you need a mask? What percentages will be there? Illinois is opening up tomorrow into phase 4, which changes a lot of things. Now, how do you communicate that to people as we start traveling outside of our geographic area? Because everybody's becoming very tunnel centric into, that's the weird thing about what COVID has done, is it's literally brought us all up into and holed up into our home communities. So we're very knowledgeable about that. But you know, many of us, even on this call, are used to flying 100,000 miles a year, traveling anywhere freely. And now you're hearing that we can't even travel into Europe right now, because then you'll be quarantined for 14 days. Governor Cuomo just said, these states, this state, this state, this state, you can't travel to New York. So there's going to be constant communication. And I think the best medium for that type of communication is going to be digital signage. And as Jeff laid out, like 4 different things that he just created because of COVID, there's probably even more things in his head that he hasn't launched yet that will come to fruition as we move forward. And the beauty of it is the platform can evolve. As long as you've got a good mechanism to start with, you can add and change and tweak that to make it better for the businesses as they open. But the one thing that is kind of the core to it is start off with a good canvas, which is digital, a good engine, which would be the Brightsign engine, and then either work with the hardware suppliers or the integrators like GABLE to make sure you solve that need for your project. And I think what we were seeing is we're having a lot more conversations. We're having 3 to 5 conversations a day in each one of our geographies about what different things they need. And we're trying to figure out, there isn't one size fits all, that's for sure. And we have a series of 6 different solutions that we've launched, like you see here, just to do either temperature checks on this one on the counter, or with digital signage on and temperature on a smaller form factor, larger form factors up to 49 and 55 inch that have people counting, with the players built in. So having those types of solutions to start with, and then they can evolve as things change, because it will happen. That's the one constant, is that change is constant.
Well, and right on, as far as I witnessed how different it is by region, by state. When I flew down to Florida a week and a half ago, on my way down, I flew out of the Philly airport, where it is mandatory. If you want to be in that airport, you have a mask on. Otherwise, you're going to be asked to leave the airport. And all the stores were closed except for 2 or 3, and you could just do takeout. Then I got to Charlotte on my connections, and it was like about 60% of people had masks on, and about 70% of the restaurants were open, and it was a little different. And then you got down to Sarasota, and it was like, what's a mask? Completely, this is in the same day, right? Stop. So it's all changing. It's all changing at a different pace in different places, Brian, as you point out.
It's almost as if we're in Europe. I mean, this doesn't sound like America. I hate to say this, but it's like it feels like we're in Europe. Or
every train stop, you're speaking a different language.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me get to my second question. My second question is, prior to COVID, we were seeing a trend in the use of self-service kiosks and checkouts, curbside pickup, buy online, pickup in store. What trends are you seeing in this area? And how does digital signage support this? Start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely seeing those trends coming into the COVID crisis. A lot of I would say kind of competition with Amazon of, Amazon delivers, but then you've got massive stores like Target, Walmart, Best Buy, where people still buy a lot of stuff and they like those retailers. But those retailers are trying to really compete against, having it delivered. And the idea that, hey, the Best Buy is like a couple miles from my house and I can roll down and have curbside pickup, which is not really much travel and pretty convenient. I get the instant gratification that it's here now. We're seeing more and more of that pick up. And then, kind of with the whole essential business, you got folks like Walmart and Target getting a whole new audience coming to their stores. Those stores, there was a whole class of people that didn't want to go to those stores. They wanted to go to their little local shops. All those local shops were closed. So guess what? You're going to Walmart, you're going to Target. And what we're now seeing is those guys are plowing money into programs to expand the products that people buy now that they've got these people already in the store or doing the curbside pickup. So we've been working with a lot of the big retailers too, and they're spending money like crazy. I mean, these guys are spending money like no end, and all of them that were kind of the essential businesses believe that this is the time for them to grab market share from Amazon and to grab market share from the other kind of non-essential retailers. So we're seeing a dramatic spending. It's kind of almost like the winners and losers. It's like the winners were the essential businesses, and now they have all these people, and they're doubling down on how to keep those people coming and how to engage them with other products in their store that weren't kind of, groceries and things like that. And then we're seeing the losers really struggling to say, what can we do to get people back to our stores and create a better experience? So, we're seeing a lot of business picking up from both sides, but the ones that were deemed essential businesses, we're seeing them totally try to grab market share, and they're trying to use our products to enhance, whether it's curbside pickup and things like that, because a lot of these, they kind of, they were thrust into the curbside pickup as the COVID crisis. And it's still a bit of an awkward process. So each of those are looking at how they can give better signage, better communication, so that it becomes a more efficient operation rather than people kind of running around from car to car and trying to figure out who's picking up what. So we're seeing continued trend in that, and a lot of opportunity and a lot of spending from the winners, and then the losers trying to figure out how they can grab money or raise money to expand or improve their experience to get people back into the stores.
Well, and unfortunately, there's some real losers that are never going to open again, right? We're going to see a lot of businesses that won't come out of this, which just means more market share, like you said, for the winners. And we don't even have the economy cranked fully back up yet. When that happens, the winners are going to be big winners. And I think that investment will continue.
Yeah, so it's just a unique thing of this whole essential business created these winners and losers, whether it was intentional or unintentional, but it definitely created a bifurcation in the market.
Well, when do you think the government's going to come in and start leveraging and breaking them apart?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, who knows? But
they're getting too big. They're getting too big. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that the thing is, though, you've got Amazon, if it goes to the Justice Department, right, you've got Amazon. It's like, look at them. Those guys are the ones that's killing us. So I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But definitely there were winners and losers, and we're seeing that from a business perspective.
Well, Brian, I'll give you the floor, and then I'll go to Stephen. What are your thoughts on this same topic?
Yeah, so I actually experienced the quick serve restaurant space where McDonald's has literally put signs on their self-ordering kiosks that they're closed due to healthcare concerns. So they're actually closing all of their, at least this is in Missouri that I saw. I don't know if it's state by state, but I was in a McDonald's in Missouri and I couldn't even use the self-ordering kiosk because they were fearing that people would, touch it and they couldn't clean it fast enough. So they actually had implemented those. Yet I see lines and lines of cars in drive-thrus. So I think the one area that is exponentially happening is drive-through order menu boards, digital menu boards are going to be, they're booming. We're actually seeing quite a bit of growth in that area, as well as digital signage kiosks for pickup. Because the one thing that restaurants tried to do is pivot and be a full-service restaurant delivering takeout and in large volumes, and many of them suffered and failed miserably. And those of you that are on the call might know of a brand called Portillo's. I said if I was a Portillo's drive-through worker, I would literally go be a consultant to all of the restaurants in the area, because the only place that knew how to do high volume mass at drive-through was Portillo's. I mean, they can go through unbelievable numbers, and every experience I had at a restaurant during the COVID time at working from home and the restaurants not being open, there were always, it was all somebody point you over here, you park over here, no, you go over here. Did you order online? Did you call in? You know, how did you get your order? And they didn't know where to send people. And so I think that restaurants definitely have need for digital signage and communication for their customers. That's
Brian, I have some friends on this call that are laughing, Brian, because they know I don't go to Chicago without stopping at Portillo's.
Did you get the chocolate cake shake? Did you get the chocolate cake?
So what's interesting about the kiosk being closed at the McDonald's really grabs me, because Brand Point was fortunate enough to be part of the McDonald's Refresh, where they've gone to the European look.
Yeah.
You know, they've gone away from the oranges and more grays and browns, and then they're modernizing. And it's funny because we got very up close and personal with the franchise owners who were doing this in partnership with corporate. And the franchise owners were very nervous about putting in the kiosk because they have a large senior population that dines there, especially during the day, in the mornings, that they were so afraid they wouldn't want to touch the kiosks. And corporate was kind of pushing it down. We're doing this, we're doing this. If they just spent all that money to do that, and now they got a sign on there saying you can't use them.
Yeah. I'll text you the picture after this call, but I have a picture of it. I couldn't believe it either.
That's amazing.
Well, actually, and on the BrightLink, you know, that's one of the things that we're doing is we can even retrofit those type of displays so that now you can keep that display going, but operate the whole thing from your cell phone. So those areas, it's like a trivial upgrade, and now you protect that investment. So we're doing that for a lot of different categories. And the self-ordering kiosks is the next one. We're trying to work with the folks who built the electronics to give them this kind of capability.
Stephen, what are your thoughts?
You got to get a commercial with Gary Busey talking into your phone saying, "I want a cheeseburger, extra fries."
Stephen, what are your thoughts on this one?
For us, you know, these are all what describing these are symptoms. But when you listen to all of the people, the retailers we're talking to, there's a customer journey that is all involved in what we do. You know, it starts before and during and after. And these journeys, these customer journeys now are converging into something brand new. It's a mixture of online and brick and mortar and experiences. And I think every retailer who knows what they should be doing sees that and has to mix it up and be able to offer all of that to whoever their consumers are. And so, you know, doing it well is really the key. You know, if you're going to do curbside pickup, make sure it's great. If you're going to be doing delivery at home, make sure that's great. But there will always be that customer experience in a store or in a restaurant for those who want that type of experience. And I think you've got to make sure that both of those are happening as well at the same time. So for us, you know, again, it's that sort of end-to-end solution, making sure that we're able to supply those kiosks on the outside for people doing, you know, customer or curbside pickup, but at the same time realizing, you know, that in store there are still those experiences that are needed there. So we're offering all of those different pieces to this converging, innovative new world that we're experiencing. I think retail has changed dramatically in the last few months, and most probably will not go back. I mean, there are things, one of the things that fascinate me are these single restaurants like Katz's Deli in New York, who are now selling their products through Gold Belly, you know, anywhere in the United States, or, you know, the pizzas from Chicago that are available.
Brian knows Portillo's does it, right? They ship anywhere in the U.S.
And now they're opening up stores all over, but they're facing big challenges with communicating to people that don't understand who they are.
We'll be seeing, you know, ghost kitchens very soon. I'm sure they are already, and you'll see more of them with, you know, with no brand at all, and they'll be just, you know, supplying different products purely as delivery or pickup. So interesting world ahead for us.
All right, so I've got some questions that are coming in from the audience. This first question from Jeff: are you experiencing end users looking for more homogeneous solutions, OEM equipment and auxiliary products, or more aftermarket systems that can integrate with existing digital products and POS systems? I'll open it up to the panel. Anyone have a thought?
Yeah, I'll jump in. We're seeing both. We're seeing, as I talked about, folks who have existing kiosks trying to make those relevant in the new world. And then we're seeing a lot of new business from what I described as the winner. So we are seeing kind of both kind of upgrades and brand new businesses. So, and I think, to look at what Stephen and Gable do, those are the folks that, they bring everything together. So we're seeing less and less people say, oh my God, we've got to have a single, a vendor or a manufacturer give us the whole solution. Whereas folks like Stephen and Gable, they pull the best of breed of all these things to create a homogeneous system, but it's built to the best of breed. And we see that a lot throughout the industry.
Brian, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, we are seeing both as well, but interesting enough, on the healthcare protocol solutions, we tried to start off with providing the metal, a display manufacturer to provide the display, a content management company provide the content, the camera, and it just became too challenging, too cumbersome to launch. So we decided that we would take it on and we would source it, we would SKU it up, and we would sell it as a complete solution. Just because I think there's just a lot, people just want to have something quick. They can say, yeah, this is it, and I'll buy this and I'll go and deploy it. Because they don't want to have an integrator. Sorry to say this, they definitely don't want to have multiple integrators come in and put something together in their facility. We've been involved in, and I'm sure Brian Point and even Gable, there's been some challenges with reopening. I mean, we've had projects that we were involved in prior to COVID that we got pulled off of and assisting, and then we weren't allowed back in there because they're saying, well, we don't want any non-employees into that facility at this particular time. Certain ones are opening up, and we're having to face different requirements at each one to go there, and it's costing I'm sure for yourselves more cost to go in there. So now they're trying to find solutions that can almost plug and play in this specific area, not every area, just this specific area.
Yep. Stephen, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can give a good answer, but we find what the advice we're giving is trying to educate people about the complexity of putting in these systems and not having multiple CMSs and the problems you're going to have if you do. And it's sometimes a little bit difficult when you're on the other side, when you're in the customer side, and different departments are ordering different things without consulting each other. We see this over and over again until it reaches a point where nobody can control the communication because there's just too many different systems. So the consultancy that we give is really about everything. It starts with helping you through what it is, what are the best practices that you need to be thinking about from an equipment side, the software side. How do you control thousands of screens, without having, the disasters that we've seen happen so many times. So I think, that's the best answer I can give. It's a complicated world that needs to be made simple.
All right, we have more questions rolling in. Jacob asks, if you had to focus your business on selling to only 2 verticals, what would they be? For example, QSR, retail, transportation, entertainment, hardware. Is there a vertical that you would stop focusing on? And it's based on the new world of COVID, right? The impact of COVID.
Definitely, I'll answer that one. And I'll go for where the people are. We're in the business of talking to eyeballs and eyeballs seeing what we do. Traditionally in the digital out-of-home world, it's been, train stations and airports, but with what's going on right now, it's those essential industries, the grocery stores, the drug stores. Those are the places right now which are getting the most traffic. And we work well in the best, in the built environment. And I see us continuing to be there. So follow the traffic.
Yeah, so I would agree with Stephen. I mean, retail is huge, and we're putting a lot of effort into that and seeing a lot of good sales on that. The second category, which is one that maybe at first you wouldn't think about, but is actually corporate. So everyone has left the office spaces, but they're coming back, and now a lot of them don't have signage, and they want signage because they've got to communicate to those employees coming back. What should they be doing? So we're seeing a large pickup in the corporate space. So those are two of the verticals that we're putting a lot of focus on, and they're paying off.
Brian.
I wish we could only focus on two. We've been built into so many vertical markets. The one that we aren't focused on right now is stadiums and arenas. That's a very strong market for mounting solutions and outdoor displays, but with what's going on out there, they just haven't spent any money at this particular moment, so we pulled away from that. QSR and restaurants are an area that we see a lot of growth at. But mainly in the outdoor space, and trying to help them communicate with their patrons and their customers as they come through. So that's an area that is of high growth for us. And we're starting to see some RFQs and stuff into the transportation area with airports and trains reopening and them needing to communicate, because not all of them had been situated with digital signage, or at least commuter signage. In the past. The ones that have been able to pivot and upgrade them. I love that they've been, the early adopters have been able to do that, and they're way ahead of their competition. But those that haven't are looking to adopt to that right now.
Well, and that's an interesting one. Jeff, with you in Bay Area, and Brian, with you in Chicago, very well-known, massive public transit systems. What is are they doing some kind of social distancing plan there, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, I can speak for the Bay Area. I mean, the BART system, it's been devastated. I mean, the ridership, I think the last time I heard it was down 95%. So, I mean, they're literally trying to figure out what are they going to do, because they've got to get ridership back, but no one wants to get on. I mean, the fear level is still high here. As well, I bet in Chicago and in New York. So yeah, it's hard. It's going to be very difficult for them, but they've got to figure it out. I mean, it's a key part of the infrastructure of the Bay Area as people go back to the offices. I mean, the Bay Area doesn't work without the BART transportation system. So once people are going back to work, so it's going to be something that's got to be figured out. But right now, ridership is dramatically down, and there's not a really anything in sight that's going to bring it back.
Yeah, we actually are seeing in Chicago that the Chicago CTA and Transit Authority, they're running commercials on television offering free masks, free hand sanitization. They're showing people cleaning the insides of the train cars. They're telling everybody how clean they're making them. And they actually, funny thing is, both those locations, BART and CTA, they actually use our products for digital signage. Those are two locations that have current projects that they've done. Now, BART has increased theirs, so they've actually purchased more over the past 3 months and implemented them so they can communicate their messaging to their customers. Because again, remember, we used to, I guess, if you go back a year, we all used to talk about this, 360 marketing to our customers and communicate to them, make sure they feel the love when they go into retail stores and stuff. Now, every industry has to communicate that. They've got to constantly keep making people feel assured that they're safe, it's healthy, this is okay, and you're in a good place. So it's interesting.
So true, because obviously the media has not sent that message, right?
Right. Exactly.
So you got to come back with a little bit of a different message. Stephen, any other thoughts on that topic?
No, I really don't.
All right.
And I think they got the right answers. I think we need a vaccine very fast.
Yes. Well, and look, I do have faith that we'll figure out a vaccine sooner or later, and that will be a game changer when it happens. But it's going to be, so many things are going to be permanent. When you create new habits, it's going to be interesting to see how willing people are to come back into the office.
Yeah.
Now that they've gotten cozy in their current situations. It's one of the things that every corporate-based, office-based, team is going to have to face the readjustment to. We're back in the office. How do we interact now? We all have masks. What is that like? Are we going out for beers after work? What are our connections like?
Steve, maybe what we're doing now is the new transportation, you know?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Until one of you three invent where you can just,
Teleport.
Yeah,
yeah,
teleport.
or holograms. We'll have holograms in front of each other. Well, we are just about out of time. I have 1 minute left, and I'm going to take that time to thank the panel. Brian, Jeff, Stephen, thank you so much for giving your time, for sharing your ideas. This, for me, was actually one of our most interesting discussions yet. I think it's fascinating. And as Brian and Jeff and Stephen pointed out, it's ever evolving, it's ever changing. So maybe we can get together and do this again in the future. But thank you, panelists, for your time. Thanks for everybody that checked in. Look for another episode of BrandPoint Webinar Series in July, and I wish everybody a very happy summer. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.